yet. Don't believe. But I'm ready to get started. If you are.
And I have started the recording.
Okay, thanks, Sonny. Okay. I am then calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 10:02 on November 13th, 2023, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded and the recording will be posted on the task force webpage following the meeting. And there's the mayor. Good morning, Mike. Let's start with a roll call of task force members. If you could acknowledge by voice when I call your name. Jen Morrison.
I'm here.
Paul White.
I'm here as well.
Michael Wright.
Here.
Mike Dunges.
Here just in time for the roll call.
Ron Kumitz.
I am here.
And Jim Mack.
Here.
All right, good morning. Also joining us is Sonny Johnson this morning, filling in for Callie Audet as our administrative support. And let's see who else we have on the line. Stephen Whitaker, would you like to introduce yourself?
You did already.
Okay, fair enough. And Richard Townend.
Yeah, good morning, Richard Townend with Alteris Technology Partners.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's move to approval of the agenda. So the agenda was distributed to task force members by email. It's also available on our website. I would like to modify the agenda item related to the big RFP response evaluation and bidder questions to also include a discussion of a recently discovered procedural concern related to the most recent RFP posting and how the task force should address that concern. So I think it would just be a matter of adding the words "and procedural concern" to that agenda item. Are there any other changes to the agenda from task force members? Okay, so with that change, so we will add the discussion of the procedural concern to that agenda item. I make that motion that we add that. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
And just confirming, it's your intent that that additional discussion also take place in executive session?
Yes, I think as it's related to contractual issues. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor of that change to the agenda, please raise your hand and or say aye.
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 I see all hands, including Ron's, voting in favor of that agenda change. Okay, so let's move to public comment. I see we have two potential speakers for public comment, so I think a 5-minute comment time is probably in order. Stephen Whitaker.
Yeah, I'm here.
Would
You
you care
want me
to
to go
comment?
first?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that I want to, I've sent most of you some comments this morning on how I think that y'all need to approach asking the right questions of the vendors. We don't really know if any of these vendors are prepared to do what Vermont needs, in my informed view, because of the deficiencies of the RFP. I've spoken to folks, experts, and the deficiencies of the RFP has resulted in people not putting their best foot forward. And that's going to come back to haunt us in many ways unless we get over it in the process of these interviews. I think we need to acknowledge the deficiencies of the RFP, the fact that it didn't deal with in-building coverage, it didn't deal with the integration and cost-effective integration of LMR and LTE design, that it didn't deal with pilot projects as a proving ground for strategies. I think we need to acknowledge that in order to open up space for the subject matter experts, potential vendors, to put their best foot forward, even if it wasn't what we asked for in the RFP. You know, you need to think about asking the different vendors what cost efficiencies or what revenue potential is there from integrated design of LMR, LTE, even fixed wireless. Are there, you know, roaming revenue that could help support this LMR infrastructure in the long run? And do we treat dense buildings, of which Vermont is full of, as dead zones? In effect, do we treat them with the same priority and the same urgency for both LMR and LTE penetration as we do a dead zone out in the middle of a state forest? I would argue that this process of interviewing these candidates and getting their best ideas about how they can best serve our needs, even if it isn't what we asked for in an RFP, it now is the time to do that. Otherwise, we're going to sell ourselves short. We're going to compromise this. And I think they say Vermont is the land of green mountains and missed opportunities. Let's kind of break that curse here. On that note, I'll stop.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Stephen. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to offer comments this morning? Okay. Seeing and hearing nothing, let's move on to the legal RFP status. Jen, do you want to update on where we are with that?
Yep, that got reposted last week, and it's open for, I believe, 4 weeks with questions due in about another 10 days. I don't have the dates right in front of me. And this time we had some of our legal friends in state government forward it to their association groups and the Vermont Bar Association and others, hoping to get a little bit wider coverage and knowledge that this RFP is out there. As you know, the initial posting was for 2 weeks and it netted us 0 bids. And so with the advice of procurement, we are opening it up for a longer period of time and trying to spread the word to people who might be interested. That's the update.
Okay. Any questions from task force members on that? All right. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, big RFP response evaluations, bidder question development, and the change we made at the beginning, the discussion of this procedural concern, all of which I believe should be held in executive session. So as we've gone through many times before, we know there's 2 steps to moving into executive session. The first is to make a finding about the need to do so. So step 1 is a motion that I will make that the sharing of information about bidder presentations and responses publicly would put the task force at a substantial disadvantage in making a decision about awarding a contract to the successful bidder for the big RFP in this case. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second.
See, Jen. Yep. Thank you, Jen. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor of this finding, please indicate by raising your hand and or saying aye. See, all task force member hands are up. Thank you, including Ron. So that finding has been made. And the next step is to make a motion, which I will make, to move into executive session for the purpose
Hey,
of
Barb,
this.
Barb, can I interrupt before you go into your second motion? Because the procedural issue you haven't identified, and that the existence of that isn't isn't the subject to. That's public knowledge, and it shouldn't be kept secret what that is that you're adding to the agenda. That acknowledgement of that issue should be done in public session, even if the resolution to it is done in executive session.
I think we will
Thanks.
discuss that in executive session, and if that is the finding, we will say so at the end of executive session, but we're not going to discuss that prior to executive session.
I agree. Task force members, any other discussion? Okay.
So you made a
So-
motion to go into executive session. I will second that
Second.
motion. Yep, I'll give it to Jim this time, Sonny.
Okay,
I like to
Jim
be
has
fair.
seconded the motion. All in favor? Raise your hand or signify by saying aye. All right, I see all task force member hands are up, although I don't see Ron.
Yep,
Ron
there you
has
go.
raised
There it
his
is.
hand. Okay, so I will move, we will move now into the executive session. Sonny, we have notified members of the public in the past when we return to regular session. We'll do that again today.
Yes, I have Stephen's information, but Richard, if you want to be advised, if you could give me a number to text you at, if that works. You can just put it in the meeting chat.
Yeah, I'm in the midst of doing that now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see everyone in executive session. Thank you.